seed.
Welcome back to the bracketology, and we see 14 teams on both teams are going to dance, and that goes for the Big East. They got 11 teams is in the Big Dance.
Not that anybody could name the 16 teams that were in the Big East in 2011, but there were 16 in the SEC this year, so it is a comparable comparison. So that leads to the question, Dallin, let's start with you here. This is a run for the ages. I heard you guys all say this.
It is 10:06 p.m.
Season conference run we've seen. All the metrics support it. But this is a sport that's determined by what happens in a 3-week span, not a 5-month period. What defines success for the SEC at the end of the day this season?
The hard part to push back on there, though, because you saw that graphic and everybody referenced it all year long, the 11 bids. How many people then followed up? Well, UConn won the national championship that year.
Right.
Like that has to be the other part of it. I don't know how many people actually said that, though. So right now, the SEC has already won the
4th. They got whacked. The league got whacked early in the tournament, except for UConn.
This is the thing. People remember that 11 teams, they leave out the championship piece. I think you have the whole collection. You need them both, and at a pretty high level. I think they will be judged by how many teams get through the second weekend and how many Final Four teams. And if you get at least one in the Final Four, and you have 3 or 4 teams in the Sweet 16, that's almost a quarter if you have 4 teams. That's massively successful. I'm not sure they can do that, but I think they already can claim success because 10 years from now, we're going to point back to this year and 14 teams and talk about that, and I'm not sure we're going to remember who won the championship when we're talking about teams getting in the tournament.
I don't think the SEC is going anywhere. Like, we're talking about the 14 teams. They can replicate that because the investment equals expectation. To me, I sat there and watched the semifinals of the SEC championship, and I saw 4 teams. That Final Four in the SEC championship will be as good as the Final Four in San Antonio.
4 of the top 6 teams in the country.
4 of the top 6 teams in the country. So when I define success, I think they got to get at least 2 teams in the Final Four and win a national championship. I actually think they're going to match the Big East, and they're going to get 3 teams in the Final Four. I think these teams are that good. A little concerned about Alabama with Grant Nelson's injury.
You mean the Big East from '85? You're talking about that?
Yes.
3 Final Four.
Listen, I think it's very simple. I think that I always look at it 2 different ways because you can't tell me. Look, the Big Ten hasn't won a national championship since 2000. The Big Ten's been a great conference of college basketball. They've had a lot of really good years with really good teams that just haven't won a national championship. The Big 12 has won multiple national championships in the last 10 years with different programs and has claimed to be elite. I think it's very simple. I agree with you. If they get 3 teams in the Final Four, I don't care even if they lost the Final Four, you're saying this is unbelievable. Winning the national championship, getting the right one there, winning the national championship cements everything that this has been about, the vision of Greg Sankey, and going back to Mike Slive, who started this all before Greg Sankey came in, and then the commitment that these schools have made. This conference has had a historic year. Winning a national championship is all to bet.
Look, they've got to have, I think, to have success, you got to have 2 in the Final Four. But let me just tell you this. Everyone's talking about the 14 teams. You want to know how you get multiple teams, ACC, Big Ten, whatever it may be, the SEC to continue that?
Dude,
you got to have great players. You have to win in November. It's all what you do in the first 30 days.
That's the narrative.
It's November and the first few weeks of December because it's non-conference. And so it's all about those numbers. Then you're baked in. People just start focusing right now. But the games in November, that first game is so important. The tension, it's all about the non-conference because that's why the SEC has been able to get 14 teams. And yes, it's a great league with great players and great coaches. But they were elite at winning non-conference games in November and early December. And that's why they're able to get 14 teams in because once you do that, those numbers are already baked in, and what you do after January really does not matter in terms of quad games.
SEC, ACC challenge set the tone for the whole season.
14-2.
Yeah.
14-2.
But that's those things in the non-conference are those numbers.
Well, that was the problem for
in.
the Pac-12. What it used to be the Pac-12. They never could win those games in November and December, and because they couldn't win in November and December, everybody looked at it. No matter what those teams, how they improved over the course of the year, they're like,
ACC is doing that right now, though. Too.
That's correct. But that's why the SEC is able to get 14 in. It's because they did it in November. They did it in November.
Bottom line, SEC, 2 1s, 2 2s, 6 in the top 4. Coach talked about the ACC-SEC Challenge. One of those wins for the ACC came courtesy of Duke, and as a result here, let's take a look at the East region. We're going to have our guys pick this. You got Duke here at the top. Thought it was a great story to see Akron John Gross defeat his half-brother in the MAC championship game. It was literally a family affair. Congratulations to him as Akron goes back-to-back. Take a look at the bottom portion of the East region as well. Wisconsin taking on Montana. I just want to mention the Grizz have a guy named Money Williams. So if you're looking for first-team All-Name team, and BYU is on fire. They've won 9 of 10. Their only loss, Sean saw them, that was against Houston a few days ago. But offensively, they have been absolutely terrific. You're up. Best first-round matchup in that region.
I love and I hate this game at the same time because we have biases. There's teams you want to advance before you see the bracket. Well, BYU is one of those, and so is VCU for me. But now they're playing each other in the first round. As you mentioned, BYU was on fire. This team is an elite offensive team. Kevin Young, in his first season there, took some time to figure out the college game, took some time to get the pieces together, but they shoot the ball, and they shoot it so well. They take a ton of them. Almost 50% of their shots are from three, top 10 in the country in terms of three-point percentage of shots they take. But because of that, they can space the floor so well. They're able to get downhill. Edgar Demon is going to be a lottery pick. Richie Saunders will play in the NBA. They have elite players, elite shooters all over the floor. VCU in that matchup, though, is interesting because they have a lot of length. They're top 10 in the nation in blocks. They've got really good guard play. A lot of times they'll play 4 guys that can shoot 40% from the three-point line. I think it's going to be a game that's going to be a great chess match between the coaches, 2 really good coaches in Ryan Odom and Young, and two teams that have a lot of dudes that can make plays. It's going to be a really fun game.
Saunders, first team All Big 12. I don't want to ruin the suspense here, but who's the player to watch?
Well, it's the player to watch is Cooper Flag. Because how well will he play? How healthy will he be? Will he play with
You're right.
on instinct? Will he play freed up? Will he be aggressive? Will he attack? Will he go after rebounds in the crowd? Will he drive it to a spot and play the contact? Will he be the versatile player, the most versatile player in college basketball that he's been all season long? Instinct, instinct, instinct. If that injury takes away his instinct, he's not the same player. Well, he's not the same player. Duke's not the same team. So, to me, I think if they put him out there, he's ready to go. He's got to be played freed up with a free mind and be Cooper Flag, the guy that impacts the game every time down the floor.
Your upset alert is a team that went on an upset run for the ages not too long ago.
Yeah, well, what I would tell you, and I agree with Dallin about the VCU-BYU game, but I think VCU can get BYU. I think that's a great matchup. And I think with VCU, who is the most efficient team in the A-10 offensively and defensively, and I think BYU, who was the hottest team in the country until they got punched in the mouth the first 7 minutes against the Houston Cougars the other day in the Big 12 semis. But look, VCU does a lot of good things. They got the A-10 Player of the Year, Max Shulga. They can score. They can play fast. And I think with BYU, if you can stay at home and not get sucked into the paint and then start ball watching and getting kicked out for threes all over, you're able to win the game. And I think VCU does a nice job of that. When you watch them play different teams like that in the A-10, I can look for VCU over BYU.
They're going to try to pressure them and kind of push them out
Absolutely.
a step.
The game that's got to go down.
I want Arizona Duke Part 2. That happened earlier on this season down in McHale, and that was a matchup that Duke actually won the game. But that was an Arizona team at that point in time that was not sharing the basketball at all. They were playing one-on-one. They were dribbling far too much. They're doing a much better job since that 4-5 start of sharing the basketball. And Henry Vasar, his improvement and what he means for this team,
Outstanding.
You cannot overstate how well he's played and how he's changed the success rate of Arizona. I think in the second matchup, seeing that they would have seen Duke, they would have felt Cooper Flag, they would have seen his versatility before. I think that benefits Arizona in a second matchup.
Think their guards can make enough shots?
No, but I think they can apply enough pressure getting downhill. They will need some from Del Orso. Del Orso will have to make some threes.
And he's got to defend better, Dollar too.
Well, that's a
Downs
challenge.
on the run out.
That's the trade-off when you play.
That's the trade-off.
Right in the hands.
Here we go.
Right in the hands.
I'm going to pick that game for you in a second here, Farney. Let's see what happens. We're doing the East region. So, first and foremost, Duke. And yes, I think it's American and Mount St. Mary's. We're just going to advance Duke. I hope they'll enjoy that playing game. Mississippi State, Baylor. I like Mississippi State in this situation. Baylor has been a little too thin. They've got some injury issues. Like the consistency of Mississippi State, they move forward to take on Duke. This game is interesting because it is a pace battle. Liberty, one of the slowest paces in the country.
Let's see which one
It's
is
a
better.
6.5-point line. I like Liberty with the points, but give me the Ducks moving forward. Arizona, Akron, John Gross has done a great job this year. I like what Arizona's doing, and they move forward. As we go down the bottom of the bracket, there we go. this game we just talked about, we're going to go with the Rams. They are first in the nation in effective field goal
I
percentage.
don't know how many
Going
design
over
shoe
2 and 3
warehouses
together.
we have.
As Coach said, they're going to be physical with them. They turn teams over. They are top 10 in block percentage. They have the defensive capabilities. Offensively, they can score enough. I think they take down BYU. Wisconsin, runner-up in the Big Ten. They move forward against a very talented Montana team, but like Wisconsin. St. Mary's burns me like every year, so we're just going to move them forward. This is just a bias play. They're big. They're physical. I think that Vanderbilt will struggle with the defensive capabilities of Randy Bennett's team. Alabama, we are caveating this whole bracket with Grant Nelson's injury. This is a huge deal. If he cannot go, this is not the same team. Wait till Wednesday night or Thursday to fill out your bracket if possible, because there's injuries all over the place in this tournament. Okay, moving forward, Duke moves forward past Mississippi State. Not an easy game, but I think they can prevail in that. Interested to see how they play in late game scenarios.
I'm looking
Going
at,
a couple
right,
all year
I'm
long
let me
and
see what I'm
blowing teams
looking
out
at. I'm
in week
looking at-
ACC. Old Pac-12 rivalry. Let's go with Arizona moving forward. VCU, Wisconsin. Similarly, Wisconsin relies on making three-point shots. Almost 30% of, almost 40% of the offense comes from the three-point line. VCU, again, I gave you all the reasons why. VCU to the Sweet 16. Taking on an Alabama team. If Grant Nelson is healthy, I think they'll be able to play through some of the slog. Can they get some of their pace? I think they have too many weapons that can outscore St. Mary's. As we move forward, all right, we have, here you go, Farney. There's your pick. Arizona beating Duke is the first 1 seed I have going out in my bracket. This is partially a question about Cooper Flagg and more so Malik Brown. The injury of Malik Brown, I think, is huge. We saw him in the last regular season game against Carolina be a complete difference maker defensively. He also made some shots. We don't know what's going to happen with either one of these guys. So again, wait on your bracket. If there's some problems with those two guys, we're going to throw Arizona in the mix. I think this is going to be highly competitive and highly entertaining. And I kind of want to take VCU, but I'm going to put Bama advanced forward. This is the other bracket. So as we move forward here, the last pick, Bama over Arizona, which a game will have a lot of pace, a lot of points, entertaining game, but I trust Alabama in that situation if fully healthy. That's your East region. Zoo?
How about that? Alabama and Houston both in search of their first national championship.
Risky with Grant Nelson.
On the
Risky.
way. Josh was nervous about coaching in the tournament. Now come the real nerves. He's at the touch
No,
screen.
this is way more nervous than coaching.
Select the Midwest. Next.
You're watching the ESPN Tournament Challenge Marathon. Download the Tournament Challenge app and fill out your men's and women's brackets now.
Let's see what's better.